Always just do a little bit of a history of it so that everybody knows why we're here today. In June 1977, Congressional House Representative Frank Horton of New York and Norma Mineta of California put forth a House resolution that the President of the United States proclaim the first 10 days of May as Asian Pacific Heritage Week. A similar proposal was in the Senate by Daniel Inouye and Spark Matsunaga, and at the same time both bills passed. On October 5th, 1978, President Jimmy Carter signed that joint resolution designating Asian Pacific Heritage Week as an annual celebration beginning May 4th, 1979. On May 7th, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed a bill extending the celebration to the entire month of May, declaring it Asian Pacific Heritage Month. In 1992, a bill was signed into law giving the permanent official designation of the month of May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. The month of May was chosen to commemorate the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month because the first Japanese immigrants to the United States arrived May 7, 1843, and the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on May 10, 1869. Majority of the tracks were laid by Chinese immigrants. So that is the reason why we're here today, to celebrate the Asian community here in Lincoln and the Pacific Island community here in Lincoln. I'm sure all of our thoughts are with the people in Nepal as they try to recover from the devastating earthquake. We also, our thoughts are with the people in Vanuatu who in March suffered a tremendous hurricane, are trying to recover. So our thoughts are with them. But now I'd like to introduce Pat Leach, who's the director of Lincoln City Libraries.
Thank you, Evelyn. I am Pat Leach, the director of Lincoln City Libraries, and it's my honor to welcome you all here to Bennett Martin Library for this read-in, and that welcomes extends to all of you who are here in person, as well as those of you who are joining us on Channel 5 via 5 City TV. Lincoln City Libraries, as Evelyn mentioned, is part of a national initiative paying tribute to the generation of Asian Americans and Pacific Island Americans who have enriched America's history and are instrumental for our future success. This read-in is co-hosted by the City Libraries and the Asian Community and Cultural Center. Libraries are experiencing great change right now as many people are switching from print books to electronic books. That's likely to change what libraries will look like in the future, but what will stay the same is our mission to bring our community together, to support literacy, to help people use technology, and to guide people in making the best use of information. Those all relate to education. All of our resources are meant for people to use, and so I hope that each of you brought your library card with you today and that you'll leave with some books, CDs, or DVDs. And for those of you joining us on 5 City TV, please do come to the library and find the information and find the stories that you will hear referred to today. We do take seriously our responsibility to the community of readers and learners, and today that takes the form of highlighting these stories. We know ourselves and each other through our stories, through sharing our stories, and in doing so, that storytelling really strengthens the fabric of our community. I want to thank personally each of you who's here today to take time to be part of this event. I look forward to hearing from each of you. So again, it's my honor, privilege, and my delight to welcome you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. As Pat mentioned, this event is hosted by the Asian Community and Cultural Center. And so now I'd like to introduce Sheila Dorsey Vinton, Director of the Lincoln Asian Community and Cultural Center.
Thank you, Evelyn. Yes, I am Sheila Dorsey Vinton, Director of the Asian Community and Cultural Center. And I'm so pleased to be here today at the Asian Pacific Island American Heritage Month read-in. I think it's so important for us to take the opportunity to celebrate successes and contributions, and this is a great opportunity to do that. We have over 40,000 Asian Americans living in Nebraska, and 14,000 of those live in Lancaster County alone. And I can tell you a few more statistics. Nearly 7,000 of those folks are of Vietnamese ancestry. Around 2,000 are Indian American ancestry. Around 2,000 to 3,000 are Chinese American ancestry. And our most recent group arriving in Lincoln and Lancaster County are the Burmese, the Karen community, and there are around 1,000 of them that currently make Lincoln their home. And what a great opportunity to come and celebrate stories. As Pat was saying, telling stories is a really effective and powerful way to just make everybody feel a part of this community that we live in. So thank you for having me.
I would like to mention that the White House is going to have a White House Summit on Asian American Pacific Island peoples on May 12th in Washington, D.C. So they are taking up a national outlook on this. And I think that's great that it's going to get national attention. It's going to be held at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. I also wanted to note that we do have a display of some newer books to our library that are on Asian and Pacific Island Americans and Asian Americans. And I just wanted to note two of them that I think are really interesting. This is Gavin Menzies, and it's called Who Discovered America? He has a little bit different take on Who Discovered America. And I think that this would be interesting reading for any of you who want to maybe get a little different idea of who really discovered America. And this is by Jared Diamond. He's the one that wrote Gun, Germs, and Steel. And this is called The World Until Yesterday, and what we can learn from traditional cultures. And he looks at the Asian cultures and also Pacific Island cultures. So here's two books that I would really recommend. They're a little bit more general than just focusing on Asian American, Pacific Island Americans, but they both touch on those cultures. So these are two books that I think would be very, very good. And also we have some other books that are available for checkout today. We hope that you look at the display and check out some of the items. Julie Yoshiko Abo is here today. She is going to have another commitment, so she may be leaving right after she speaks today. So if you have any questions for Julie, be sure and address them to her as she's still up at the podium, as she may have another commitment. And so I'd like to introduce our first reader, Julie Yoshiko Abo.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for inviting me to this Asian Pacific Island American Heritage Month read-in. I'm really honored. And thank you to the wonderful Lincoln City Libraries and the Asian Community Cultural Center of Lincoln for these fantastic programs. And storytelling, yes, this is really about storytelling, isn't it? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. My name is Julie Yoshiko Abo, and I'm from Bremerton in Washington State. And I've been in Lincoln now for the past 10 years, and I'm so happy to call it my home with my husband and my two daughters. And I teach here at the Intensive English Program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. My heritage is Japanese American on both sides of my family. I am fourth generation Japanese. My great-great-grandparents came from southern Japan in the early 1900s. Today I have two pieces to read to you. One is an excerpt from a book that you can get here at the library and in all the branches, I believe. And another is a short story written by my Auntie Alice. So first I want to give the readings a little bit of context. Most of us today have a family member or a friend who remembers or was in World War II. Also, I think that most Japanese Americans from the West Coast in my generation either know someone or have family who were interned in relocation camps during that time. I think it is part of our collective experience in American history. It is only recently that I realized as an adult that my family history, heard about on late nights after Thanksgiving dinners with relatives, stories told by aunts and uncles, but never grandmother or grandfather. But that these stories are part of something greater, a part of American history. So when I was asked to read for the read-in, I immediately thought of a book that really spoke to me and my family history when I was a child, and it still does today. It is called Farewell to Manzanar by Jean Wakatsuki Houston, and I'll read the title notes on the back of the book. Jean Wakatsuki was 7 years old in 1942 when her family was uprooted from their home and sent to live at Manzanar internment camp with 10,000 other Japanese Americans. Along with searchlight towers and armed guards, Manzanar ludicrously featured cheerleaders, Boy Scouts, sock hops, bombers who would play any popular song except the nation's #1 hit, Don't Fence Me In. Farewell to Manzanar is the true story of one spirited Japanese American family's attempt to survive in the indignities and forced detention, and of a native-born American child who discovered what it was like to grow up behind barbed wire in the United States. So I'll read just a little bit from the first chapter. It's called, What is Pearl Harbor? Papa's boat was called the Nereid, long, white, low-slung, with a 4-deck wheel cabin. He had another smaller boat, the Waka, a short version of our name, which he kept in Santa Monica, where we lived, but the Nereid was his pride. It was worth about $25,000 before the war, and the way he stood in the cabin, steering toward open water, you would think he had the whole fleet under his command. Papa had a mustache then. He wore knee-high rubber boots, a rust-colored turtleneck Mama had knitted him, and a black skipper's hat. He liked to hear himself called Skipper. You never knew how long they'd be gone. A couple of days, sometimes a week, sometimes a month, depending on the fish. From the wharf, we waved goodbye, my mother, Bill's wife, Woody's wife Chizu, and me. We yelled at them to have a good trip, and when they were out of earshot and the sea had swallowed their engine noises, we kept waving. Then we just stood there with the other women, watching. It was a kind of duty, perhaps a way of adding a little good luck to the voyage or warding off the bad. It was also marvelously warm, almost summery, the way December days can sometimes be in Southern California. We watched until the boats became a row of tiny white gulls on the horizon. Our vigil would end when they slipped over the edge and disappeared. You had to squint against the glare to keep them sighted, and with every blink you expected the last white speck to be gone. But this time they didn't disappear. They kept floating out there, suspended as if the horizon had suddenly become what it always seemed to be from shore, the sea's limit, beyond which no man could sail. They floated a while, then they began to grow. Tiny gulls becoming boats again, a white armada cruising back toward us. They're coming back, my mother said. Why would they be coming back, Chizu said. Something with the engine. Maybe somebody got hurt. But they wouldn't all come back, Mama said, bewildered. Another woman said, maybe there's a storm coming. We watched and waited, and when the boats were still about a half a mile off the lighthouse, a fellow from the cannery came running down the wharf, shouting that the Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor. Chizu said to Mama, what does that mean? What is Pearl Harbor? Mama yelled at him, what is Pearl Harbor? But he was running along the docks like Paul Revere, bringing the news, and didn't have time to explain. That night, Papa burned the flag he had brought with him from Hiroshima 35 years earlier. It was such a beautiful piece of material. I couldn't believe he was doing that. He burned a lot of papers too, documents, anything that might suggest he still had some connection with Japan. These precautions didn't do him much good. He was not only an alien, he held a commercial fishing license, and in the early days of the war, the FBI was picking up all such men for fear that somehow they were making contact with enemy ships off the coast. Papa himself knew it'd only be a matter of time. They got him 2 weeks later, when we were staying overnight at Woody's place on Terminal Island. 500 Japanese families lived there then, and FBI deputies had been questioning everyone, ransacking houses for anything that would conceivably be used for signaling planes or ships that indicated loyalty to the emperor. Most of the houses had radios with a shortwave band and a high aerial on the roof, so that wives could make contact with the fishing boats during these long cruises. To the FBI, every radio owner was a potential saboteur. The confiscators were often deputies sworn in hastily during the turbulent days right after Pearl Harbor, and these men seemed to be acting out the general panic, seeing their sinister possibilities in the most ordinary household items: flashlights, kitchen knives, cameras, lanterns, toy swords. If Papa were trying to avoid arrest, he wouldn't have gone near that island. But I think he knew it was futile to hide out or resist. The next morning, 2 FBI men in fedora hats and trench coats, like out of a 30s movie, knocked on Woody's door, and when they left, Papa was between them. He didn't struggle. There was no point to it. He had become a man without a country. The land of his birth was at war with America. Yet after 35 years here, he was still prevented by law from becoming an American citizen. He was suddenly a man with no rights who looked exactly like the enemy. About all he had left at this point was his tremendous dignity. He was tall for a Japanese man, nearly 6 feet, lean and hard and healthy-skinned from the sea. He was over 50. 10 children and a lot of hard luck had worn him down, had worn away most of the arrogance he came to this country with, but he still had dignity, and he would not let those deputies push him out the door. He led them. Mama knew they were taking all the alien men first, excuse me, to an interrogation center right there on the island. Some were simply being questioned and released. In the beginning, she wasn't too worried. At least she wouldn't let herself be. But it grew dark, and he wasn't back. Another day went by, and we still heard nothing. Then the word came that he had been taken into custody and shipped out. Where to, or for how long? No one knew. All my brother's attempts to find out were fruitless. What had they charged him with? We didn't know that either until an article appeared the next day in the Santa Monica paper saying that he'd been arrested for delivering oil to Japanese submarines offshore. My mother began to weep. It seems now that she wept for days. She was a small, plump woman who laughed easily and cried easily, but I'd never seen her cry like this. I couldn't understand it. I remember clinging to her legs, wondering why everyone was crying. This was the beginning of a terrible, frantic time for all my family. But I myself didn't cry about Papa or have any inkling what was wrenching Mama's heart until the next time I saw him, almost a year later. So you'll have to check the book out to read about the family's struggles and victories in this book, Farewell to Manzanar. Okay, so my second reading is a short story that my mother's sister, Alice Hikito, wrote recently in a memoir writing class. Their family lived in Juneau, Alaska in 1941, and their father was taken, much like Jean's father, to Lordsburg, New Mexico. And my mother and her 3 siblings were interned in Minidoka, Idaho for 4 years. They were eventually reunited with their father at Minidoka. She wrote this story while remembering a treasured object. And this story reveals how the small gestures of kindness can make all the difference during difficult times. And we can all remember that. This is called The Blue Dress. While rummaging through a box from the past that contained bits of memorabilia, I ran across a black and white photo taken in Minidoka internment camp, the camp we were sent to during World War II. I picked it up to look at it more closely and found myself returning to that time and place some 70 years ago. There I was in the front row among the other little 5th grade girls. In Minidoka, cameras were not allowed. As I scrutinized the picture, I realized that the photographer must have been given a special permission. The picture captured a sense of excitement. My normally straight hair held bouncy curls, and the girls' faces were graced with innocent smiles. I remember wearing a very special light blue dress with a waistband of embroidered pink roses. The material was soft and graceful. Could it have been made of silk? As my memories came out of the shadows, I found myself going back to December 1942, that first Christmas in Minidoka. I don't think I believed in Santa Claus at that point, but if I did, how would Santa ever find our barrack? Decorations in the sparse barrack room that was now our home were non-existent, and the only Christmas tree was in the mess hall. On top of all of that, our father was still separated from us, detained in a distant camp in Lordsburg, New Mexico. There was not a lot of whole joy to spread around, detained in a distant camp in Lordsburg, New Mexico. During this bleakness, I yearned for our home in Juneau and the simple, innocent rhythm of life. How quickly our lives turned upside down in just 1 year. About this time, we got a notice that a package had arrived and was being held for us in the postal area. We were a bit astonished. Who would be sending us a package? My brother said he would go to get it, but we all wanted to go with him. We were that excited. The package was handed over, and we could see that it had come from our hometown of Juneau, Alaska. It was from John Hermley, my father's friend. We just looked at each other in amazement, and while taking in the thoughtfulness of John Hermley, we quickly went to the back of the barrack and opened the package. Among the items in the box were colorful Christmas candy, a beautiful doll with curly blonde hair for my little sister Mary, and the wonderful blue dress for me. As I remembered it, it was blue like the blue of Alaska's state flower, the forget-me-not, so light and pure. The delicately embroidered roses on the waistband of the dress made a statement of elegance. It was so beautiful. I could remember my mother hastily putting it back into the tissue wrappings as if to protect it from the rough, barren life of Minidoka. At the time, I doubted that I would ever have a chance to wear it, but I was wrong about that. My mother must have remembered the dress when informed about the picture taking and sought it out from under the sleeping cot. I'm glad that picture was taken so that many years later I could still be reminded of that Christmas. Mr. Hermley extended such grace to us that first Christmas. It wasn't about the presents. A more precious gift was his unspoken support during a time when we were treated like the enemy by our government. There were other Christmases in Minidoka, but his act of kindness made that first Christmas memorable, never to be forgotten. I tucked the photograph safely away back into the box of memorabilia. There will be a time when my memories will fade, but the memory of the blue dress will always be captured and kept strong by this picture from the past. Alice Hikido, October of 2012. Thank you very much. Oh, and here's the picture of my aunt in her blue dress. And there she is with the big smile. Oh, you can pass
Do
it
you have
around.
time? Do you have time, Julie?
Yeah,
I know you
that's
have
okay,
another-
that's okay. So again, I just think it does show how, sometimes the small things can make a big difference. Thank
I'm
you.
going to give this to you, Julie, so you can sign it. It's the release form.
Oh, okay. Oh, you can introduce the next person.
And I was just going to mention this, and Julie, so, it just is such a coincidence that she chose the World War II era to write about. This is from the Lincoln paper, Sunday, April 5th, and it is in This Week in Nebraska History. Cites 1945. Japanese American families in Buffalo County were asked by some local farmers to leave the area. Ministers throughout the state issued a statement of objection against this demand. So that just shows you the prejudice that was at the time. And so thank you, Julie. If any of you have any questions for Julie, she does have another commitment. So do any of you have any questions? I didn't want you to feel like you... Sorry. And our next reader is Naren Amon, and she works here at Lincoln City Library in our Technical Processes Department. And so welcome, Naren.
So this is my, I think, 4th or 5th year doing this, and I really appreciate Evelyn for inviting me to do this honor here to read in this Asian Pacific Island American Heritage Month. I chose a book by Kashmira Seth. Let me show you this. This is the book. It's called Sona and the Wedding Game, and it's about a game that play during the wedding time, and is really popular in our culture and also in Indian culture. Since India and Bangladesh, these two countries, we kind of shared the similar stuff. So it's pretty fun to look at this book when we first got this, last month. It was in March. So this is how it goes. My grandparents and my cousin have come from India for my sister Nisha Ben's wedding. There is so much to do. Even I have a job. Sona, my grandmother, says, "Will you be in charge of stealing the groom's shoes?" "Why would I do that, Dadima?" I asked. Now, Dadima is grandmother. "It's a tradition for the bride's sister," she tells me. "It's a way for our families to get to know each other." "I already know Anilji," I say, "and what will I do with his shoes anyway?" My cousin Vishal sprinkles a handful of petals on my head. "It's like a fun game," he says. "You figure out a way to steal his shoes, and then he has to bargain with you to get them back." I shoo him away. "Anil's brother will be guarding his shoes," Nisha Ben says. "You'll have to trick Jitu." "I will do it," I say, "but I am not sure." I have only met Jitu once. I hope I recognize him. Will Anilji and Jitu be here to get their hands painted? "Only girls apply mehendi," Vishal snorts. "Don't you know anything?" I say I stay quiet. "Did Anilji get a white horse to ride?" Vishal asks. "Of course," Nisha Ben replies. "A horse," I gasp. "Do you get to ride one too, Nisha Ben?" "Only the groom does." Vishal gallops around the room. That's how he gets to the wedding. Even though Vishal is younger than me, he thinks he knows everything. He has been to a lot of weddings, but this is my first one. It's not fair. That afternoon, Dadima shows me how to mix turmeric, rose water, and chickpea flour into a creamy paste. We rub it on Nisha Ben's before she showers. It gives her skin a silvery shimmer, a silky softness, and a fragrant smell. Later, we hang the garlands we made over the doorways. We have created beautiful rangoli designs on the floor with colored sand. More relatives arrive, turning our house into a festival. Vishal keeps babbling. He is such a know-it-all. I keep plodding. How can I steal Anilji's shoes? Could I dress up as a robber and snatch them? Or dump red kumkum powder on Jitu to distract him? Then I have an idea, but I will need an assistant. "Will you help me steal Anilji's shoes?" I ask Vishal. "Yes, you can bargain for $1 million." Let's steal the shoes first, I say. Then I will worry about the bargain. I tell him my plan. The Mehndi party is the night before the wedding. An artist draws flowers, vines, and peacocks on my palms with a brown paste made from leaves. It's glue sticky and moonlight cool. After the paste dries, I rub it off, leaving a beautiful design on my skin. The next morning, Dadima fancy braids my hair. All set for shoe stealing? She asks. Yes, I say, but I am worried. Finally, it is time for the wedding. Anilji arrives on a white horse, just like Vishal said. His family and friends dance around him. The silver threads of his turban shines like stars. The horse is handsome, with large eyes and a calm face. He seems to smile at me. I want to throw my arms around him. Mom puts a tilak of kumkum on Anilji's forehead for good luck. Before Anilji enters the wedding mandap, he takes off his shoes and passes them to his brother. Jitu slips him into a bag, then sits in the front row, just in front of me and next to Vishal. Perfect. He slides the shoe bag under his chair. Sona, don't even think about instilling the shoes, he says, as if he knows what I am planning. Why would I want Anilji's shoes? I try to look confused. Nishaban is dazzling in her red gold sari. For a minute, I forget to breathe. The priest's voice is loud and soothing, but I don't understand what he is saying. The first thing they do is pray to Lord Ganesh, Vishal whispers. Then they invite the whole universe to the wedding. Are you sure? Yes, they invite rivers, mountains, planets, and stars, sun, and moon. You don't understand because it's all in Sanskrit. It's time. It feels like thousands of flower petals are whirling in my stomach. I nudge Vishal. Do you want to wear my turban? He whispers to Jitu. I won't fit. It might. Try it. Vishal tries to put his turban on Jitu. My heart thumps as I slide the bag out from under Jitu's chair. I remove Anilji's shoes, hide them under my long skirt, and put my shoes into the bag instead. Vishal pushes the turban at Jitu, but it falls into the aisle. Jitu reaches out to grab it, and his chair tips over a clankety clank. Everyone glares at him. I collapse back into my chair. No one noticed me. The priest ties Anilji's scarf to Nishaban's sari, and they circle the sacred fire several times. First, Nishaban leads, then Anilji. Now they make 7 promises, Vishal says. What kind? Jitu asks. I want to know too. To not fight, share everything, not keep secrets, be best friends, and love and stuff like that. Then they're married. Nishaban and Anilji walk out from under the mandap. Dadima and Dadaji are the first to bless them. Then others follow. Jitu hands Anilji the bag. I kept your shoes safe. Anilji pulls out my shoes. These are a little too small for me. Everyone laughs. Maybe these will fit. I hold up Anilji's shoes. But how? Jitu sputters. When did you steal them? Sona, how about if we swap shoes? Anilji asks. No way, I say. I want a better reward than that. What if I give you this turban? No way, Vishal says. Sona doesn't need a turban and I already have one. He helped me, I explained, and I already know what I want. Anilji laughs when I whisper my request in his ear. But he agrees. Perfect shoe stealing job, Dadima says. That was fun, I say. Now I am ready for my prize. So this is what she wanted. So that's all about this wedding game. Anyone have any questions for me? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Evelyn.
Our next guest reader is going to be Newa Gu, and she has just been hired here at Lincoln City Libraries, and she's very excited to be one of our readers. And so, welcome, Newa.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to be attending this special event. And my name is Naihua Guo. I'm from Taiwan. I actually came to the States in 2006 with my husband to pursue advanced degrees. So first we went to Indiana, and about 2 years ago we moved to Lincoln. And as Evelyn says, now I am currently a library service associate at this Bennett Martin branch. So like Pat said, please just enjoy our library resources and check out as many items as you can. And today I'm going to tell you a story written by Grace Lin. Grace Lin is one of my favorite Chinese American author, and she has written many award-winning titles in the children's literature and the young adult literature field. And this story is about the Moon Festival. Well, the Moon Festival is a largely celebrated Chinese holidays, and it's actually a time for harvest, to celebrate harvest, and also a time for family reunion. So it's kind of equal to the Thanksgiving holiday for the Western people. And let's take a look here. At the title page, Grace Lin usually presents a lot of the theme-related items on the end pages just as a preview of the story. So for this story, it's about celebrating the Moon Festival. So there you can see the moon cake, and there's this book of poetry that people will be reading the poetry under the moonlight and having some tea. And we have lanterns here, candles, and a picnic blanket. So perhaps as I'm reading the story, you can look for these items and see where they appear in the story. Okay? All right, now let's begin. The title is called Thanking the Moon, Celebrating the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival. Okay, so now they're packing up, they're ready to drive up to the mountains. Okay. The mid-autumn moon glows in the sky. We go into the night to admire it. Mama prepares the nighttime picnic. Mama means mother. Baba arranges the moon-honoring table. Mei Mei plays with the pale green pomelo peel. Mei Mei means the younger sister. Jie Jie brings out the glowing lanterns. Jie Jie means the older sister. And I pour round cups of tea. We all eat soft, sweet moon cakes. Then we thank the moon for bringing us together and send it our secret wishes. It peacefully watches over all of us. This night of the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival. Well, although it's a very short picture book, this book has entertained myself and my 5-year-old son. So I'm hoping that it has bring you a little taste of the Chinese culture. And if you like to check out some work by Grace Lin, you will find out that she writes mostly about contemporary Chinese Americans, about their lives, and she introduces the Chinese traditions to all people. So thank you.
Our next guest reader is going to be Rebecca Reinhardt. She works at the Lincoln Asian Community and Cultural Center, and so I'd like to invite Rebecca to come up and read her selection.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Reinhardt, and I am the cultural program coordinator at the Lincoln Asian Community Cultural Center. It's a great opportunity for us to celebrate Asian Pacific heritage together today. So this one is my girl, Jenica Reinhardt. She is my assistant reader. Okay, today I'm going to read the story is Paper Lantern. So I'm going to read first, and later on I can pass around to have you guys look around the pictures, okay? Bamboo strips, sheets of rice paper, paste, and a pen were all it took for Old Chen to make the most beautiful lantern in the all of China. But Old Chen was getting tired, and lately there was a stiffness in his hands when he worked. He wondered if the day had come to close the shop. There was no one to replace him, for neither of his apprentices seemed to be blessed with his skill. One evening, a small boy passed by the lantern shop. He stopped to watch as Old Chen carefully arranged the glowing lanterns in the window. It was like seeing a magician light up the light sky with dancing stars. What a marvelous place, the boy thought. He was filled with curiosity and awe. When Old Chen looked up, he saw a small and smiling boy standing before him. Old Chen noticed how the boy's eye lit up as he looked around at all the lanterns. "What is your name, little one?" Old Chen asked. The boy answered shyly, looking down at the floor. "Little Mouse." "Ha, Little Mouse, is that because you're so small?" Old Chen asked. Little Mouse looked up at Old Chen and asked boldly, "Can you teach me to be a lantern maker just like you?" Old Chen laughed and replied, "Perhaps." From that day on, Little Mouse stopped often at the lantern shop to watch Old Chen work his magic. The two would sit and sip hot tea and eat bowls of steaming rice. Each time, Little Mouse would ask to become an apprentice. And each time, Old Chen would smile and say, "No, Little Mouse, you're still too small. And besides, I already have 2 apprentices." But the Little Mouse persisted until one day Old Chen said, "All right, Little Mouse, I will give you work. You can sweep the shop for me." Little Mouse would arrive early in the morning to sweep the floors while the other apprentices performed their duties. He swept around the boy who cut the paper. The apprentice always boasted,
I am the only one who knows how to cut the paper, Little Mouse. You must keep my area very clean.
All the while he swept, Little Mouse carefully watched everything the paper apprentice did. He swept around the boy who shaped the bamboo. The boy always boasted,
I'm the only one who knows how to shape bamboo, Little Mouse. You must keep my area very clean.
Little Mouse nodded and smiled. All the while he swept, he carefully watched everything the bamboo apprentice did. Little Mouse always swept slowly around Old Chen, watching as the paper and the bamboo turned into intricate lanterns in the old man's skilled hands. Little Mouse could not believe that everyone could create such delicate objects. It seemed that Old Chen's hands had magic in them. Every night, Little Mouse would take home used strips of bamboo and old pieces of rice paper to practice what he had seen at shop. For many weeks, he struggled to bend the bamboo into the right shape, just as the bamboo apprentice did. He tried to cut the paper just like the paper apprentice, but he always cut it too small or too big. Little Mouse had often heard Old Chen counseling his apprentice, saying, "Work slowly and carefully, and you will learn." So Little Mouse crafted lantern after lantern until one night, after pasting perfectly cut paper over a flawless bamboo frame, he took a deep breath and dipped his brush into the paint jar. He labored over the brush strokes until, at a long list, the lantern was complete. He could hardly wait to show it to Old Chen. The next day, Little Mouse waited until the two apprentices had left before placing the lantern timidly but proudly on Old Chen's work table. Old Chen stopped his work and looked sharply at the younger boy. Suddenly, Old Chen broke out laughing, for he knew that at least someone could carry on his work. Little Mouse had the magic in his hand. The old man was very excited now, and he almost forgot about how stiff his hands were. In the weeks that followed, Old Chen told Little Mouse many stories about lanterns and lantern makers. Every evening, when the two apprentices left, Old Chen closed the shop and cleaned a small space on his table. He set Little Mouse on a stool beside him and taught him all the secrets he knew about making paper lanterns. Little Mouse learned quietly, watched carefully, and practiced persistently. He quickly learned far more than the two apprentices. Months passed, and soon the lantern maker and his apprentice were busy preparing for the annual Lantern Festival. Once all the usual lantern had been made, Old Chen began playing his masterpiece, a fearsome, majestic majestic dragon. Surely, before the festival, it began to snow. The snow fell all night, and by the morning, the streets were cold and covered with a white blanket. When Little Mouse arrived at the shop, he found Old Chen sitting at his table, shivering from the cold. His old hands were just too stiff to make another lantern. Old Chen looked at the little mouse with tired eyes and gently touched the boy's shoulder. "Are you big enough now, little mouse?" "My hands have lost their magic." "Don't worry," the boy replied. "You have taught me well." Next morning, when the two apprentices arrived, they found only Little Mouse sitting at Old Chen's work table. "Old Chen is not well today," Little Mouse said, "but there is much work to be done."
But who will make the dragon lantern? The apprentice asked. "I only know how to cut paper," the paper apprentice sniffled. "I only know how to shape bamboo," the bamboo apprentice complained.
"Well, then I suppose I will have to make the lantern," Little Mouse said formally, and he set to work. He gave paper to the paper apprentice and told him to cut a dragon shape. He showed the bamboo apprentice what shape to form, and he watched both boys carefully, making sure they make no mistakes. The apprentice were surprised by how much Little Mouse acted and sounded like Old Chen. Little Mouse's small hands fluttered like butterflies as he repeated what he had seen Old Chen do so often. When the dragon was assembled, the two apprentices could not believe their eyes. It was every bit as beautiful as Old Chen's work. On the day of the Lantern Festival, dozens of lanterns in the shapes of rabbits, tigers, fish, horses, and pecans were carried down the street. The drums and the gongs grew louder, and the fireworks exploded as a fantastic dragon lantern appeared. Word spread quickly that at least Old Chen had found a master lantern maker to carry on his work. Old Chen and the Little Mouse watched a prayer from the window above the shop. The two friends glowed with happiness, just like the paper lantern. Thank you all. And is anybody has question for me?
That was good English.
Thank you. And I have a good assistant. So anybody has a question?
Thanks so much, Rebecca. That was wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want us to pass around this?
Yes, yeah.
Our last guest reader today is going to be Dao Nguyen. And Dao is quite a celebrity. He was on the front of the Lincoln paper on Friday night, and so he's just our celebrity here today. I'd like to welcome Dao Nguyen.
Hi, everybody. Hope I can speak louder so you can hear me. As further, thank you very much for, thank you, Evelyn. She recommended me to read this book, and I got a book on Wednesday, but I, so busy with many events, many interviews, TV, a lot of talk. Even Friday, I had a talk at the adult college, and after that, I went home and prepared a radio station for Saturday broadcasting, KCUM. Then around 8 o'clock last night, I started to read until 5 a.m. this morning. And I take a couple hours sleep, wake up, continue to read until the time I get on my car and come over here. It's a fantastic book. My name is Dao Nguyen. Everybody already know. She called me celebrity. I even hit the front page on Omaha on Thursday too, you know. Then Friday I hit Lincoln Journal Star. Maybe they more interested in the Vietnam War and 40 commemoration of 40 anniversary of the fall of Saigon. That's why they get me on TV, interview, radio station. The whole month I had about eight events, you know. This book, very good. If you are interested in finding a philosophy book, it's a religion, the book of religion, it is too. I think this book covers almost everything, and I even found myself in this book too. The book's name, Where the Wind Leads, written by Vinh Chung. He a Chinese man living in Vietnam, and he came to, came to United States and both people, and I better read a little bit on what he introduced himself. My name is Vinh Chung. This is a story that spanned 2 continents, 10 decades, and 11,000 miles. When I was 3.5 years old, my family was forced to flee Vietnam in June 1979 to a place we had never heard of, somewhere in the heartland of America. Several weeks later, my family lay half dead from dehydration in a derelict fishing boat jammed with 93 refugees lost in the middle of the South China Sea. We arrived in the United States with nothing but the clothes on our backs and unable to speak a single word of English. Today, my family holds 21 university degrees. How we got from there to here is quite a story. So I read the book, and let's start some page, the page 89. Oh, let me summarize this book a little bit so you understand what he tried to say. After he went with his family, get into the ship, trying to get into Thailand or whatever, and head into the ocean. They didn't know where to go, like me. On 1975, I get into the ocean, I didn't know where to go. Finally, the U.S. 7th Fleet get me to Guam Islands, the Philippines, then Guam Islands, and to United States. And over here, I follow his example, or maybe he followed my example, get onto UNL, try to get for me some degree, and get out to serve, get a good job and serve the community. And I quit my job in 2005-06, decided to help my community out of my money from my pocket, I didn't have any fun, anything, just help Vietnamese people. I was elected every 2-3 years, but they keep elected me again. I served more than 12 years already. I'm planning to step down by the end of this year, so I devote more time in reading, doing more, things, social work, or even translate this book into Vietnamese. It's a very good book. So when he got to Malaysia, he thought he found the land. He unfortunately, the Malaysia Navy get him and another, put him and I think 290 people on 4 fishing boats. Take them out to the ocean and cut the rope, leave them, left them over there. And luckily, he will, after 5 days, almost die. And he and his family were rescued by the ship called Sea Swim from World Vision, and get him to Arkansas. From there, they started a new life, and now I think he a doctor right now. Very good book, very inspirational book. I recommend everybody read that. Let me read the mother dream so he can see how she dreamed. Her background is Buddhism, Confucian, but her dream one night before she and his family, whole family decide to leave the country, were forced to leave the country. How do we do? Okay, right here. One night, my mother dreamed she was in the marketplace in a shop trunk along with our entire family. When Mother Chung wasn't there, it was a dream, not a nightmare. Nor was my uncle or his family. It was just the 10 of us, my mother, my father, and the 8 children. The markets were noisy and crowded with people from all over town, talking, haggling with vendors, calling to one another across the square. Suddenly, everyone fell over dead. My father and all 8 of us children, we were dead too. Even my mother was dead, those in the manner of dream. She was still conscious, and her eyes were open. At the far corner of the market, she saw a solitary standing figure, a man dressed in a white robe with a long brown hair and beard to match. As my mother watched, unable to move a muscle, the man began to make his way across the market toward her, stopping from time to time to point down at one of the reclining bodies. And whoever he pointed to, that person came back to life and stood up. My mother began to fervently pray that the man would point to her too. And sure enough, when the man finally stood over her, he pointed to her, and my mother rose to her feet. She was ecstatic until she remembered that her husband and children were still lying there. She didn't dare speak to the man, but she began to pray again, this time that he would extend the same kindness to her entire family and bring them back to life too. That dream, after the dream, she asked the people, who is that person? Some people said the Buddha. She said, no, he doesn't look like a Buddha. Maybe Confucian? No, he doesn't look like. Until she came to the church the first time in Arkansas. I can't remember the name of the church. When she saw the picture of Jesus Christ, she says, that's it, it's him. And some people maybe told him, children told her, and maybe he looked alike. No, he doesn't look alike. It's him. From that time, she converted into Christian. That's very good verse story, And the story of endurance, story of starting a new life, how to learn the language, and how to learn the English. The first word they learn is Coke, and the next word he learned more Coke. More Coke. Interesting. And the author had a good sense of humor. I love to read him. His. Lots of other like Love in the Ocean. I let you read Love in the Ocean 166. I should read the whole book for you today. 166. You see how terrible. My father still wasn't sure what the Malaysian had in mind. Maybe there had been a last-minute change of plan. Maybe we were never headed to Pulau Bidong at all. Maybe they decided to take us to the big refugee camp in Amamba, Iceland, far to the south. That would have accounted for extended voyages. The night was so black that the sky blended seamlessly into the sea. My father stared into the darkness, hoping to see some sign of land nearby. Then some Malaysian sailor lined up along the stern of their ship and looked out at us. "You on your own now," one of them shouted down. And with that, they cut 4 ropes and dropped them into the water. You know, they dropped them to the ocean and about 200 miles from the Malaysia and cut the rope. And the bad, very bad ship, fishing ship. No, they cannot start the engine. No water, no food, nothing. You know, maybe the Malaysian think that this is a good place for killing them. Instead of shooting them, just killing them in the ocean. That might be better, and with a good place for burying them in the ocean. You know, that's a terrible. That terrible time period. And then later on, even they on the ship, they still see another pirate ship, 2 ships come over, and they try to put the rope under their ship, so capsize the ship. But luckily, the rope were broken, and one machine of the one ship were broken too. And they would say that the 2 miracle. And when they were thirsty, they didn't have the rain. And the Father, he never know who God creator. He pray, God, if you are the God creator and you listen to me, please send rain. And the rain come down within, maybe a few minutes or an hour or something like that. And when the rain come down, people enjoyed it drinking, but they did not have anything to hold it. And when the rain come down so much, the ship will, filled with a lot of water, and the water from down the ocean, everything is so bad. The ship almost sunk. And he prayed again. If you listen to me, you already send rain to me, why not stop it? The rain stopped. That is true story, very good. I read it, sometimes I just laugh with the author, sometimes I wrote in tears, when reading everything happened to him, how the life, how he endured hardship, how he start his new life in the country. And 2 definitions I really like from him, he gave the definition of American. American is not a person who was born in America. The American is a person who do more for community, more generosity, more a lot of things. So then you will consider Americans. And another thing, and it just happened to call, his statement very close to my statement. He said, I lost fortune and I found a better treasure. But when I was interviewed by, Lincoln Junior Star, I told her, I said, I lost treasure and I found another treasure. Somehow in the coincidence, we talk the same language. Yeah, I lost a treasure, me in my country, Vietnam, without any communists, but I found American, another treasure. Thank you very much for your listening.
Well, thank you. Dao-Win was our last reader. I do want to express my appreciation to all of the guest readers. Thanks so much for participating in the program. Thanks for Sheila Dorsey Vinton for coming, and for Pat Leach for doing our opening welcome remarks. So that is the conclusion of our program. Once again, thanks everyone for coming. And we just really appreciate doing this, and we want to have the communities come together and have more storytelling. This is the way to do it. So thanks for coming, and have a wonderful afternoon.